Now she can't find it. So we're, I just
I
started.
got it, Joe. I'll post it in there if you want. Yeah.
Just add it to the doc.
It's the Google Sheet, right? With the delivery plan.
Yep.
Cool.
So the start of the recording. So today is November 12th. The Ortelius Architecture and Working Place Working Group. We do have some excellent news. Tracy Miranda from the CDF says that we are in and that they're actually working on the press release. So very exciting. Tracy, you're on mute.
She says the votes are all in, but they're going to let it, she said they'll just let it be out there for 2 weeks, but they only have 7 votes. And there was only one person who hadn't voted. And they were very impressed with our attendance at both TOCs, and they were pretty excited about the community's non-binding +1s.
Yeah, we flooded them with the +1s.
It's great. So thank you everybody for your hard work. It's awesome. It's going to put us on a brand new journey. Really will. Pretty exciting. It's really exciting. It's kind of weird for Steve and I to, hand our baby off to somebody else, but it's really exciting for the project and for the community and, for the solution in general. I couldn't be more thrilled.
So with that, let me share my screen. Sorry guys, there's struggling with it's been the week of things just not quite working right. It's just been bizarre. So please sign yourself in on the docs. The attachment to the doc is on the calendar invite if you're looking for it.
I just put it in the chat. Make it easy.
Okay. All right, there's that. So just real quick on the agenda, just the sign up process. We identified that the sign up process was the bridge between WordPress and Ortelius or Deploy Hub on that side. There were some problems with it, and I've reworked it, and it's much closer. So I moved the sign up process into Ortelius. So we can get that. Everything is all in there. The one thing I'm need to rework is I finally figured out what some of the underlying problems are, and it has to do with the threading on a servlet, a Java servlet thread, that the thread is dying, or the request is dying and taking the thread down, so things never complete all the way. So I'm doing some rework on that. I should have that out this week, so we should have over this weekend. I'll roll it out. So we'll have a new sign up process as part of that, which will make it a lot easier. Then on the reporting microservices, that's kind of been on pause after the Hacktoberfest. One of the things that I want to discuss is how we should handle passing around the user ID token. So one of the things that comes into play with microservices and Kubernetes and things like that is you may not come back to the same container that you were there before. So your transaction from your first transaction that you may do may hit container A in the cluster, and then your second transaction, even if it's the same API call, may hit container B, and container B would not know that container A authenticated. So the way you handle this is by passing around a token. So when you do the login returns a token. Now the question is, should we just return the token, or so every transaction going forward would just be the token and we look up based on the token who the user is? Or should we pass along the user ID and token as well for every subsequent call going forward? The one thing it does when we do that is we know the user ID. So if we ever need to look at logs from that standpoint, we can see actual user ID in the log stack versus trying to decrypt tokens from the log viewpoint. Just want to get your guys' thoughts on that, which way we should proceed on that. Anybody?
I would go with user ID and token.
Okay. And what's your thought process on that? Just for ease of use?
Not ease of use. I think this is the next best thing that is happening of using the tokenized systems.
Yeah.
So not just the ease of use, but yes, let's go with what what is the industry best practices are following. Nothing
Right.
against the other approach. Nothing against the other approach.
Right. And I did look at OAuth, but when we run on-prem for a so if we take Ortelius and put it on-prem and it's running in a Kubernetes cluster or in a Docker container, and we're going to implement OAuth, that gets tricky because most companies don't want people to use their like their Gmail address or their GitHub account or anything like that. So we'll still have to, and that's the reason why I didn't go down the OAuth route. We've done that in the past, and we've gotten pushback because of we've actually had customers ask to get rid of that authentication because it was being confusing with their internal authentication practices.
You know, OAuth would make sense if we're trying to interoperate with other companies and we're having to have like a Salesforce integration and have them be able to get authenticated against us. For stuff that we're doing internally in the cluster, I don't think we need to go that sort of route. And I don't know how much you guys feel like that sort of third-party integration is important to where we're going.
I think you hit it the nail on the head on that one, Christopher, because I think right now we should just focus on Ortelius. And like I said, if we need to bring in, if down the road we have some Salesforce integration, or if we have a specific integration with GitHub or GitLab or something like that, that we need to start querying, user data about the user ID or like the GitHub organization, I think that's when we should look at bringing in OAuth to get that authentication between Ortelius and those third-party tools.
And OAuth really seems to be very bespoke. There is a standard, but there are lots of different implementations of that standard, and so trying to get that right is just a huge amount of effort for somebody that's good at security stuff.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. In the past, when we implemented it, we used, there's a third-party tool that was like a gateway. It was like an OAuth gateway. I think it was like OAuth.io or something like that. That would allow you to gateway through their system to the other ones to set that up. But it is a little convoluted. So we'll stick with user ID token on that front. Okay, Tracy, why don't you go ahead and talk about what's been happening on the personas. I know last time we were talking about a route for each persona, and we're going to break out the Google Doc and such as SRE and stuff like that. Why don't you go through what you guys have come up with so far, because that's going to play into our architecture and some of the things that we need to focus on.
So I won't go too deep. We've started it. There is a kind of a scratch pad that's called the Ortelius persona doc. And what that led me to is just building out a proper proof of concept. So for this group, if you could take some time and look at the proof of concept and some of the needs analysis for each of the different personas that we've defined, that would be super helpful. Now on personas, we also understand that Nitu is going to start working on personas for the community, not just for end users of Ortelius itself. But right now we've just been focused on end users. So that proof of concept is a central place to try to track some of the needs for each of those personas.
And like Tracy said, we've identified two major groups of personas. The one that we're going to be focused on from the architecture group is going to be, and marketplace is going to be the consumers of Ortelius, those personas and what people need from a proof of concept to get up and going. The other group is community members. We're going to have different personas for the community. And what are those personas and how, like you have a developer, you have a QA person, you may have a product manager, those
And mainly
types.
the reason why we need to do that for the community is to make sure we have the tools for everybody. And we understand what what jobs everybody has and what tools they need. So we'll get working on that, and we'll create some rewards programs, some recognition programs for each of those personas.
And one of the things that we are kicking around as part of the rewards are the badges that you can get, the electronic badges, and then also there's also bounties. I don't know if anybody's been involved with any repos that are using bounties, but basically you can get Bitcoin for issues that you fix and things like that.
Yeah, so if anybody has any ideas of how they would like to see the reward system be put together, because you guys are the ones that were rewarding, let me know, or just go out to the outreach and add it to the agenda for the outreach, and I will take a look at it before the outreach meeting.
And then the other one was the goals. It's a high level delivery plan. And this is what was over in the Google Sheets, and for some reason I can't get it to open. I don't know why, but
I can share it, Steve.
yeah, I'll stop sharing and you can. Like I said, things are just running weird this week.
Okay, so this is sort of really the meat of this discussion, because this team needs to really define. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay. So what I did was I did my best to define the tasks that we need to do for 2021. So this is a 2021 roadmap. We had originally discussed the website, improving data graphs and maps, importing application-based versions, publishing our first marketplace, and then this beast converting DM script to Python. And then I added interoperability because I believe that's something we should focus on. The way I built it out was I had Steve help me. We can't try to come up with individual steps that needed to be done, which will eventually, we need to create issues for this. And this is going to help Nitu and Perjot kind of manage the project. But we, as a architecture group, really need to make sure that we're all good with these particular goals. Now, the on-ramp, this on-ramp goals, this is all basically the general community and the community managers. I do have some things in here that are specific to the architecture committee, and as until we really grow the group, I'm guessing that most of the folks in the architecture committee are going to be doing a lot of these other steps. So here it is in its glory. I would suggest you kind of take a look at it. What I think that what we should decide is, so for example, we have this beast that's, we've laid out for a full year, But we also have this interoperability, and I've identified Spinnaker, Argo CD, and Tecton as the three we should focus on. And for Q1, I have identified Spinnaker as the most critical of all of these. And I have spoken to Isaac, I can't think of his last name, Muscarga? No, I can't think of his last name right now, who's the CTO of Armory, and he is going to give us a person to work on the Spinnaker integration. At least give us a definition of where we think it should go. And if they need to do something on the Spinnaker side, they can add it to their roadmap as well. So I think that we need to kind of do a vote here to say what we want to really focus on in the first quarter, because there's a lot of work that we have defined that we could do. I don't think we'll get it all done, but I'd like to get kind of a vote. So I think the best way to do the vote would be to put it on the sheet. So let me just add a column. I'll just call this. How would
Say,
how would we
just
do
say
that?
vote, and we do a +1 plus. Just do a vote, and then just put a +1 by it. So if it's already at +1, you come in, make it +2.
Okay. Does that make sense, everybody?
You know, so just add to what you think is going to be important. And if you want to pick a couple, let's focus on the top 4. So you get 4 votes to
Yeah.
spread across the different categories.
One being the most important. So when you go in there, just add your number, and then we'll come up with a
That
a
makes
list.
sense. We'll play it by ear on this.
Yeah, I think for now that'll work.
Yeah.
Is it for this quarter? Are you saying that we vote on for this quarter?
For this quarter.
We should vote on
Yes.
it this week. Let's put an end date. Let's go ahead and vote on this by a week from tomorrow. So if everybody can go into the doc, put your vote in, and that way it gives us time before we get to the general meeting next week. Or what would it be? Our general meeting is gonna be on Tuesday.
Tuesday, and we can identify what it is.
I guess we can, if everybody can crank through it, just, it's not going to take long. If we can get this done by Tuesday, our vote, that'll be something that we can take to the general meeting of what we identified. So let's make it a goal to go ahead and get our votes in by Tuesday.
So for example, some of this, like build out a CI/CD automation from Git, that's a big project. I think it's whoever just put plus the one out there. Yeah, I know. I think it's really important that we got to get that done. We need to make sure we have all the tooling identified. We want to make sure that everybody coming in can on-ramp as quickly and easily as possible. So, it comes to really making sure this is a welcoming and easy place to be. There's other things that we need to do in that process, but I feel like those are the top ones. And then the other stuff is just the nitty gritty. This is all the coding. Everything below that is all the coding. And in my opinion, I think that this interoperability, we need to address it sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm going to put a couple.
And I know what you're saying about interoperability with these other CI/CD tools, but getting that sort of stuff to work is really going to be a lot easier if we actually have somebody that's using that stuff on a regular basis. And I'm thinking Argo CD, we should be able to find somebody, because that I've seen that come up a lot, but I just don't know how much of a Spinnaker and Tecton population is out there for us to find that user advocate sort of person to help us out. You to the community may have found the Spinnaker person, so that blows me out of the water on that one, but still, it's the same.
Yeah, so since Spinnaker is part of the CD Foundation, I have good contacts in there to get somebody to help us, like somebody from Armory. I think that they could give us somebody from Armory would know exactly where we need to integrate and what their customers are asking for. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
And I've been sitting in on the Tecton project, and that one we can actually. There's other tools out there that are built upon Tecton. Like Jenkins X uses Tecton under the covers. What used to be called Nebula. Oh, it's Relay from Puppet. So we can focus something like on Puppet, Relay, and then that would buy us the Tecton integration type of thing. But like you said, Christopher, I think the big one is getting this Spinnaker one. They're pretty vocal in the CDF. So if we can make them get some visibility and ride on their coattails, I think that would be
And
very
Michael Galloway is on our TOC, on the Ortelius TOC from Netflix. So he should be able to give us some insights too beyond what Armory can do. So Netflix works with Armory pretty closely. So I'm hoping we can step into that relationship and get that information.
now maybe we can find a small project at Netflix or something.
Yeah. Argo CD, once we are officially part of the Linux Foundation, I think I can find somebody from the CNCF to introduce me to some of the folks at Intuit who are working on Argo. But that's going to take us a little time for me to build a relationship to get a favor. But I will get that done, and that probably will be more likely in Q2.
And then I had something I just slipped my mind on this. Never mind, it'll come back to me. Does that make sense what we're trying to do here with the spreadsheet? Feel
Just so
free.
we already have Jenkins, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
So Jenkins and Tecton and Spinnaker are the other ones. We have Screwdriver out there, but I really don't know anybody from that community.
So if you see a line item on the spreadsheet that is either too general or doesn't make sense, feel free to go ahead and clean it up and expand it if we need to. This is just the first pass of what we're looking at. And when we look at like, something like test or install a platform or do something, it's very generic. Underneath the covers, when we get down to the actual coding part, each one of these line items may expand into 2 to 4 GitHub issues under the covers.
Yeah, I'm guessing probably more than that.
Yeah. So these are just high level placeholders, in other words.
And then if we could talk about the website just briefly. Owen, are you still there? I saw that you signed in.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Great. So has there been any, have you thought about what we might do with the website in terms of the platform?
Yeah, so I didn't have much time to work on it this week, but I've got an initial demo of a workflow to show to folk in the next week or so to kind of talk through. Once we can actually touch it and have a play with it, actually see what that would look like, and then we can talk a little bit more about what that platform should be. Okay,
super. You just let me know when you're ready to do that. I was thinking about, so we generally have an outreach meeting every other Monday. I'm thinking about for a shorter period of time, not to something permanently, but to do a website meeting on Tuesday. So we have a general community meeting every 2 weeks on Tuesday. I'm thinking about making that meeting weekly, and we focus on the website on the alternating weeks. So we always have a meeting on Tuesday. Sometimes it's a general community meeting, and then it's the website. Because I think that way we'll get the work on the website done faster and get it off our plate. Because I feel like this is a low-hanging fruit that we could probably get done, other than integrating it with cell number C6, which is building out a CI/CD automation from Git. But we should be able to convert it where people can contribute to it, and that's really all I want to get to.
Yeah, so the demo workflow I was putting together is based around GitHub CI actions.
Oh,
so
great.
that can hook in.
So that kind of
Perfect.
works together. Good. Perfect. All right. That's all for
Um,
me on this.
All right, and then I had one last thing. Sasha asked for to do a walkthrough, and a bunch of other people came through in the Discord about that. And I was thinking about a week from today, same time, 8 o'clock. Would that work for everybody?
Yeah, thanks. Works for me, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, work for me too.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and schedule that for a week from today. And basically it's just going to be a walkthrough so you guys understand the more from a development perspective of how things are hooked together, you know, where things are, just to get you for a better feel. Go over some of the terminology. Most of you know what the terminology is, but we'll just review that. I'll try to get done in a half hour or less. We may have to break it into two if we get if we need to dive deeper into some stuff, but we'll start with that a week from today at 8 o'clock Mountain Time.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for doing that.
Oh, no problem. And if there's any other things, we did put together, I was working with Priyajad, and we did put together a list of training videos that we need to do. And there's going to be two sets of training videos. One's going to be community training videos, like how to do a pull request training video. And then there's another one that's going to be like how to run your first deployment using Ortelius. So like I said, we're breaking these into two groups because you know, one of our high level goals is to help people learn how to do open source. And then the other side is how to learn Ortelius and work with Ortelius. So we're gonna work with those two sets of training videos. They're going to be, we're looking at keeping them short little segments, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes max, on how to do something. So we're going to be reaching out to volunteers just to record some of the raw MP4s about the different, you know, like how to clone how to fork and clone is one of the videos. Not very long. But we'll need somebody to go and do that, record it, and then pass us the raw MP4, and then we'll have somebody edit it, add on our front logo, clean up the timeline, and then add on the back tail end part, and then publish it to YouTube. So
Yeah, and for now I can do that. I got
Yeah.
that down pretty quick.
Yeah, so just give you a heads up, that's going to be coming, and we'll need help on that in the next couple. I'm guessing we'll probably get started in probably about 2 weeks out.
And I'm going to go ahead and add a resource page to the existing Ortelius site, and I'll include the links, Sasha, that you have been passing on. And there were a bunch of training links on the Hacktoberfest page from DigitalOcean that I'll also collect and add to one place. So we'll get started with some of that stuff, even though it won't be perfect. It'll be there.
So that's I think that's all I had on the list that give you that heads up. I'll send out that invite after we're done for next week to the whole group, and I think that's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Okay, perfect.
One thing which I want to add, and maybe if, you guys can correct me, before we set across our preferences on this, how about if Steve, you and Tracy can probably create one more column and say, what is the priority for you? For example, we may choose row number 5, but row number 5 is the lowest priority for you to, in terms of attaining something.
Right. Yeah, we can do that. We'll add on what we think are our priority items, and then that way you can kind of see where our
Yes.
our heads are on this.
I'll just call this Steve priority.
More work.
Correct me, I thought this would be a good idea before we pick up, items from this whole list?
Yeah, yeah. That's a great suggestion because we have the big picture in our heads, and that's part of the challenge. Is we've been so closely coupled to this that sometimes that it's too hard to see what needs to go first. But but that makes perfect sense. We'll go ahead and prioritize that and give you an idea of where our minds are on what we think is going to be needed next.
And I'll do
Okay.
it based on the high level. So I just see where that blue line is. I just added. We'll put the priority at that level.
That's
Cool.
cool. Thank you.
All right, we've gone 1 minute over in our 30-minute call. Is there anything else that we haven't discussed that we should be? If you came on late, we have gotten notice from Tracy Miranda that we are in. There has been no objections for bringing Ortelius into the Linux Foundation and under the CD Foundation fold. So that is huge for us, guys. And gals, it's big. It's a really, really exciting. It's super exciting. There aren't any other solutions that are doing what we do as well, and so they're pretty excited about having this technology as part of the CD Foundation. They have struggled with breaking out of the mold of having, a lot of people think the CD Foundation is a place for Jenkins. They want new innovation, and they're very, very excited about having us, according to Tracy Miranda.
Oh, and because there's going to be some overlap, there's another CDF meeting going on right now. It's the interoperability meeting. And one of their topics that they had last time was around metadata around a release. And what they were talking about is exactly what Ortelius does. So they're going to, one of the guys over on that side was going to start a proposal or a document about what data should be gathered for around the metadata for a release. One of the interesting things, this real quick, has anybody ever read up on the, what is it, the SPDX standard? Let me sure.
And on that interoperability note, I think what we'll do in the future is I will not attend the architecture calls. I will go and attend the interoperability call. So we have somebody on that from Ortelius.
Well, we may just need to bump our call over to another time. But can you guys see my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the interesting things when you look at, so SPDX real quick, if anybody has to jump, go ahead, bounce. But what it has to do is if you think like a Node.js package or a Python package, there's information that they want to start collecting around those packages. And a lot of it is the same concepts are going to apply to Ortelius, because if you look at, if you go through, basically it's like this JSON data that you collect, and you can extract it out of the package and gives you information. And they get into things like, what should your date format be? Very specific. So everything's standardized across all the different.
And wait, what is it for?
This is when you have a like a Python package. You're supposed to embed all this information in the Python package.
I see.
And if I could find the piece.
So it's like a BOM for a Python package?
Yes, it's a BOM for any packaging software. So what are the licenses?
I see.
What's your license? What's your copyright? All this information about that. But the interesting part, if I can find it real quick.
Which brings me to the point that I haven't added it to the delivery plan, but there will be requirements that the TOC asks of Ortelius with regards to security scanning, who we're using. We're gonna as an incubating project, there's going to be things that we're going to have to add. Just to keep that in mind. That might be something Steve has to focus on. And I have reached out to Phil Gibbs, who was the original creator of a lot of this backend stuff. And I haven't heard from him, but I'm trying to get him to come back to the community so he could take over the some of that stuff around like the DM script to Python.
So the interesting part I found in the document was around the relationships that they're looking at. And this is something that we can pull from for Ortelius. When
I
N
see.
depends, A depends upon B, dependency of, manifest of, build dependency. Now the part that we have runtime dependencies, test dependencies. So these dependencies are interesting that we may need to start looking at. Now the complicated part is when in the Ortelius world we can have 50 component versions that are rolling up into an application version, and then how do you do this roll up process? I think the groundwork is here for us to take these relationships and allow us to roll up all the way through the hierarchy. And the nice thing is if we look at this standard, and if we have a Node.js that's a Node.js application that's in a container, and we have a container scan that can go and pull all the SPDX information out, we put that into our database, and then our component versions are based on the same type of description. Then we could do the roll up very easily, and we could roll up all the way from the individual source code packages through everything that's in the container to all the components that are making up an application, all the way up the tree, and have a single view of all the, a well-described view of an application version, all the way down to the individual files that are out there inside a container. So it's an interesting thing. Take a look at it. It's very technical. And what was that?
So you want to borrow this framework to match it to the application, basically?
I think so. That's what we got to look at, is to look at how we can, I think almost 80%, if not 90% of what we do with Ortelius is going to cover this. We're going to call things different. Like this case, they're talking about an archive file, a TGC. Well, that in our world is going to be instead of archive, this is going to be a component that contains a container called X.
It's like a library, and you have if you go to the librarian, it kind of tells you what the book's about and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes cool sense. Yeah, it's awesome.
So it's just something that we need to look at, because I think we can really leverage a lot of this information, and it's been out there for a while. They started this back 10 years ago. So it's a pretty mature world. And it gets into, even if you look at, and I skipped over it, but licenses, every single Node.js package has a license associated to it. We should be able to roll up all those licenses up to an application version that says, here for this application, when you go to your security group or your auditors, your lawyers, you can say, here's all the licenses that this application uses. And it's just a quick, we just generate a report out of that, which makes it super easy to provide that information to people that are asking for it. Because that comes up all the time. Like when we applied for to be members of the CDF, I had to go through and list every single license that we used underneath the covers at a source code level. So, and it's a long list. It grows really quick, but then it gets, you get a lot of repetitiveness as part of that. But that's some of the things that we need to start thinking about. So take a peruse at it. and you'll get an idea. It's just called spdx.org. I'll throw it in the meeting notes so you guys can have it. And one of the things that they do is they'll have a tool that you can actually just send. There's a way to pull out a JSON file, and then you give it to, you upload it somewhere, and it'll validate all of it for you and print out a nice report. So that was the last thing. Sorry for dragging it on a little bit, but take a look.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of information we can leverage out there.
Thanks for sharing that, Steve.
Yep, I'll throw it in the minutes here real quick. Okay, I think that's it. Anything else?
Not from me.
Not for me.
I'd invite you over for a celebration, but it's a bit far.
We're gonna when we get I know we're gonna have to do some kind of celebration. We'll do like a morning celebration here, and it'll be an evening celebration everywhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it'll be very, very, and this someday we'll all get to meet in person. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
It would be,
Yeah.
would be awesome.
We will,
It'd be
once it
amazing.
becomes official, we'll do an official one on like a Friday or something.
Well, we're just gonna have to do it where everybody can attend, and it's generally meetings. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna have to celebrate in the morning. We'll celebrate with donuts. We'll let everybody else celebrate with, beer.
Awesome.
Donuts and beer, we'll call it.
Wow. What a
There we go.
Honestly, I'm excited for this.
I am excited too, Owen. I am very excited. I think that I'm inspired by everybody who has seen the need and said, hey, this is something we need to fix, and said, I'll step up to help. So it's because of all of you that this is actually becoming a reality. And I thank all of you from the, they always say from the bottom of your heart, but it goes farther than that, really. It's awesome.
So we'll I think Tracy Miranda said that like 2 weeks out, they'll have the official, and then after that, we'll do a donuts and beer.
Why not?
Yeah, why not, man? Sounds good.
Hey, we could set a trend here with coining it donuts and beer.
Yeah.
Donuts and coffee for you, and beer and some people.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? As crazy as the Americans have been, they don't need any more beer. We just need donuts right now. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was so happy that I'm in the donut part of the world, really.
Well, and you got some decent coffee out by you too.
My
Oh my
house is
God, there's
sandwiched
so much
between
coffee.
two craft breweries.
What's
All right.
the called? Was it Phil's?
Yeah. We've got Phil's and Pete's and
I like Blue Bottle.
oh yeah, Blue Bottle's got tons of little spots all over the city.
I really miss. Yeah, there's a favorite Blue Bottle place over by the convention center that I like to go to, and it's right around the corner from a smoking lounge, which is freaking awesome. It's amazing to be able to go and sit and smoke a joint in a lounge. I'm like, oh my God, this is so enlightening. And then I'll go get my coffee at Blue Bottle. It's the best part about San Francisco.
All right, everybody, we've kept you late. Thank you.
Have a good
And
one, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
take care. Peace
Bye-bye.
out.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.